I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Councilmember Days. Here. Councilmember Dunaway.
Present.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Here. Present.
Councilmember Clancy.
Here.
Councilmember Tracus.
Present.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Is there a motion for approval of the journal of the meeting of February 11th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The February 11th, 2020 journal is approved. We have no bid openings this evening, so we will move to communications.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, we're doing the...
She's not in attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay, so moving on to communications. Madam Chair, we have no tax compromises, zoning matters, or road and bridge matters this evening, so we will move to other communications. Under other communications, item number 1, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the record plat, deposit agreement, trust indenture, general warranty deed be approved as requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the record plat, deposit agreement be approved as requested.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, 6th District.
Receive and file, please.
So ordered.
Item number 4.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 5.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 6, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 7.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal for items 7 through 11 be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 13.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 14.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 15.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 16, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. So ordered.
Item number 17, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 18, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 19.
Receive, file, and the amendment to the contract be approved as requested. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 20.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 21.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 22, 7th District.
Receive, file, contract in the amount not to exceed $5,318,679.45 be approved and awarded to Cozy Wagner, Inc., the lowest responsible bidder, as recommended. The appropriation transfers be approved as requested, and authorization for revision to the existing traffic control devices be approved as requested. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 23.
Receive, file, the appointments and reappointment be held on the order of business and refer to the council as a committee of the whole, and that will be the order.
Item number 24, 1st District.
Receive, file, and the appointment be approved as recommended.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 25.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 26, Fourth District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 27,
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion for item number 28, and that will be the order. There are no add-ons this evening. We will move on with the report of the county executive.
Thank you, Lisa, and good evening, everyone. The outbreak of the coronavirus disease has created quite a stir as the number of cases in China, where it originated, have grown. In the U.S., cases have been confirmed in 7 states. There have been no confirmed cases here in Missouri, and the St. Louis Department of Public Health is in daily contact with the CDC and with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. We also receive daily communication from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. While there is reason for concern, just like there is for the flu, a very similar process, that concern does not excuse racist or xenophobic behavior. Local Chinese-owned businesses have reported dips in business, and Asian American students at some of our universities have reported disparaging remarks. Last week, an Asian American boy in California was physically attacked in high school, falsely accused of having the coronavirus. Anytime there's a public health concern, we cannot stoke that fear and apprehension with ignorance. Based on information from the CDC, the immediate risk of this new virus to the American public is believed to be low. And the best way to keep that risk low is for every one of us to do our part. It is currently flu season, and the CDC recommends getting a flu vaccine and taking everyday precautions to help stop the spread of germs. That includes washing your hands with soap and water and using alcohol-based sanitizer if soap and water are not available. Covering your nose and mouth when you sneeze or when you cough with a tissue or with your sleeve. And cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched objects or surfaces, especially around your home or work, if someone at the workplace is sick. In addition to taking precautions for yourself and for those in your care, please do not let hysteria be your guide. Today I had lunch at Wonton King, a staple on Olive Boulevard for 20 years. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. This is an opportunity to show your support and help those that could be struggling as a result of misinformation regarding coronavirus. Before the council tonight is also a bill that would ban domestic abusers from carrying concealed firearms. It would bring local ordinances in line with federal law. I appreciate the council's action on this important piece of legislation and the continued efforts of groups such as Moms Demand Action so that we can get statewide legislation that is both respectful of the Second Amendment and protective of those who have been impacted by domestic violence. Yesterday, the Missouri House of Representatives passed legislation to create a prescription drug monitoring program in Missouri. This measure now moves on to the Senate, where it has failed in recent years over privacy concerns. Missouri remains the only state that doesn't have a PDMP. Because of that failure in our state legislature, in St. Louis County in 2017, we created our own PDMP. I led that effort because I know the dangers of these drugs when they are overprescribed or misused. St. Louis County now administers this program in 75 jurisdictions across the state of Missouri. Now it's time for a statewide program so we can fight together the opioid crisis that affects thousands of Missourians every year. Thank you, Lisa. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, there is no report of special committees. We will move on to the public forum. This evening, we have 18 speakers. When you are called, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. I do want to remind everyone that your time, if you are a speaker, is limited to 3 minutes. Our clerk will remind you of the time, and I will need to ask you to wrap up if you go over the time. And please hold your applause, as it does make it very hard for us to hear the next speaker's name and disrupts the flow of the meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the first speaker.
First speaker, Mark Glenn.
Thank you. I am Pastor Mark Glenn. My address is 4324 South 38th in the city of St. Louis. I'm also a pastor at New Life Evangelistic Center that has been on the battlefield in the forefront of fighting homelessness, not only in the city of St. Louis, but also in the county. I'm here tonight to stringently oppose and strongly oppose vagrancy laws in the county. I didn't know what the term vagrant meant. So, like most of us, I Googled it. And I was kind of surprised at the associations that are with this word, vagrant. The words are loitering, associated with criminals, prostitution, drunkenness, petty theft, temporary worker, welfare, and lawlessness. If you want to have a poster child for what a vagrant is, just look at tramp or hobo. I'm here tonight to tell you that these individuals are not tramps and hobos. Most of the people that I meet are women with children who are victims of domestic violence. They are victims. Most of us who have a simple job are one paycheck away from being homeless. And it's disgusting how the county treats the homeless. The county has criminalized the homeless. You say, how do we do that? If the county is giving a person a ticket for being homeless and not trying to solve the problem, then you're not solving it. Now, I have met several women, some women with 4 children, that this ministry, our ministries, had to help because there was no solution from the county. I met a 78-year-old woman who's in a power wheelchair, who's homeless. She's a victim. She had no place to go. She would have died on the streets. You're going to hear from other individuals who have been saved not by the county, but by ministry. The vagrant laws are oppressive and abusive. I don't know how many of you have been homeless. It's not pleasant. Can you imagine, let's use a woman as an example, that stays in a VACO, which is called a vacant building at night? I've heard horror stories, even from the county, where women have been molested and raped and beaten. We need to stop criminalizing homelessness and get rid of the word vagrant. Call it what it is, homelessness. And you need to come up with a solution for it. The last thing I want to say is this. I'm a Christian. I honor my Christian faith.
Madam Chair, that's 3 minutes.
Need you to wrap up, sir.
I honor my Christian faith. I'm tired of playing church. I want to be church. If you are a Christian, here or here, you have an obligation to take care of the least of these, and we are judged by how we take care of the least of these in Matthew 25. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
Next speaker, Janet Belleisle. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Janet Belleisle, and I am homeless. I have been since August of last year. My daughter and her family, when they couldn't get enough of my money and my drugs for my back, they kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. I had enough money to go to the motel in Hazelwood, where I stayed for a week. It was very hard for me, but I got a hold of New Life Evangelistic Center on a Friday, and on a Saturday morning they come and got me because I didn't know where I was going to go. I had nowhere to go. It's hard when you're 73 years old. I'm not very forgiving of my family. I don't talk to them. This is where I'm at now, is at the New Life Evangelistic Center, where I live. That's all I got to say. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker, Carrie Maroudo.
Sorry for the beeping, my life vest went off. a defibrillator vest on. I'm Karen Maroudo, and my address is 2428 Woodson Road. I stay at New Life Evangelistic Center. I'm homeless. I had a house I paid cash for in Ladue and my own business with 25 employees where I became ill, and I was diagnosed with a damaged heart muscle and a blood clot on my heart, and my heart only works at 8%. I lost everything, and I had to panhandle to get medicine to save my life because I was LASIK, and my heart won't pump the water out, and I kept filling up with water, and I went to the hospital 7 times in 1 year to keep getting the water pumped out, and I had cardiologists getting mad at me, telling me I was dying because I wasn't taking my medicine. But I didn't have any money to get the medicine. There's a time frame in between Medicaid, disability, and where you don't have it and you're waiting for it, where you don't have any way. I have no living relatives. I had no one to turn to, and I had no way to get medicine. So I did stand on the corner and panhandle to get medicine to go to the pharmacy so I could stay alive. And so I do feel that not everybody that's out there panhandling is they're doing it for drugs or alcohol or bad things. There's some people that I really, honest to God, needed it for my medicine to stay alive. And I didn't know what else to do. I was also at one point hungry before I got my food stamps, and I did panhandle for a sandwich. And I had to. I didn't know where to go. And I called the hotline for the, shelters. They were all full. They just tell me they're full, they're full, they're full. I was stuck out in Kirkwood at the time, and I had no way to get downtown to even go sleep on a sidewalk downtown. It was hard. I had to panhandle to get money to get downtown to be closer to where the shelters are. I mean, I had no way to get there. I couldn't walk. My heart only worked at 8%. It was pretty rough. So just keep in mind with this panhandling bill that not everybody's doing it. It kept me alive and fed for a bit of time until I could get into New Life Evangelistic Center. Now I have Medicaid, and I have a life vest, and I have a roof over my head, and I haven't been hungry, and disability is right around the corner, and it's going to be okay thanks to Larry Rice and his facilities made all the difference. So not everybody's out there doing it for a bad reason. Take that in mind when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Larry Rice.
Thank you. I understand that St. Louis County has a federal lawsuit against it concerning the vagrancy panhandling issue, and I think it's been tabled, but we've got to do away with that immediately, legislation where people that are out, because there's this false misconception that people are out panhandling because they need money for drugs or alcohol. The alcoholic, the drug addict, isn't going to go through all that hard work of standing on a corner trying to get a few dollars. They'll get it some other way. What I'm finding is women and children, individuals like Karen and individuals like Janet, literally that need a place to sleep at night. Many are turning to the inexpensive hotels, $40 a night. That's not inexpensive, but it's either that or sleeping out on the streets. And so there are more and more people that are having to be out there. If you look at the recent count that just came out in St. Louis County, I believe they terribly undercounted in this area the homeless, but it still showed an increase over last year, I've told, of 12%. I think it's closer to 25 to 30%. St. Louis County, if there was just a place in this county, they said you could build a shelter. We'd be willing to build a shelter for homeless women, children, a walk-in shelter. But the fact of the matter is everybody says not in my backyard. And on top of that, while people are already down, you have these repressive, discriminatory laws. They call them vagrancy laws that already kick people that are already down, people that are already hurting. It's something from the past. We need to get rid of it. And we need to recognize the fact that there are more and more men, women, and children that are ending up homeless today with the gentrification sweeping through our community, the breakdown of the family unit, the destruction of affordable housing, cut back in alcohol, drug, and mental health programs. More and more people are ending up homeless. We definitely need to take the step. It won't cost you anything. Take it off the table. Do away with the vagrancy laws And then let's work together, identify a place that we can rally the community, build a shelter, a place that people come into, a place that if the police find someone out the street, they can take them to, rather than write them a ticket. So I again appeal to you at this particular moment to, let's have a heart. This is the United States of America, the richest country in the world. More and more people ending up homeless. A lot of other good projects do, and a lot of money spending. But let's put people first, people over profits. And may the golden rule not be him who's got the gold make the rules. God bless you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Clinton Wall.
My name is Clinton Wall, and I am a animal caregiver at St. Louis Animal Care and Control. Last time I was here, Topeka County, circumstances were different yet the same. Staff and volunteers were to struggle to get along and work together as a cohesive unit for our common cause, the animals at Animal Care and Control. Now that the volunteer and staff are united, we could fight the other problem that looms over our head at ACC, the RFP for privatization. We've been told for nearly 8 months now that this RFP could be released. Within this time span, we have had 3 kennel staff members quit, 3 ACOs, and 2 veterinarians. Countless others worried about what awaits them. New staff is hard to find when people are being told their job may only be temporary. This seems to be fighting the success we've made. The RFP has raised lots of concerns over current staff, and another reason in people's eyes why we continue to probably be short-staffed. We've been told the RFP is officially coming out. But why? Why would you propose to get rid of a dedicated staff that has overcome the faults of 2 previous administrations and has worked short-staffed to achieve this goal? With the help of staff and audit recommendations, we have cut the population by over half. Our live release rate is 90% or over 90%. Our euthanasia is down, and we've had success in adoptions despite not having a valid veterinarian on staff to do spays and neuters. All of this has been achieved short-staffed. A kennel group that has been overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. On page 183 of the Citygate audit, it says that the current model that is included in the RFP was requested, meaning that St. Louis County asked to include a model for privatization. In the audit, Citygate wrote 6 different service models on how to run the shelter, including the one that was requested for privatization. And the recommendation how to run the shelter is the one we currently use. Tuesday, January 14th, Spring Schmidt sent an email to ACC employees covering the things that we have done with the audit and things that we are currently working on. The last paragraph of this email reads as follows, and I quote, "At ACC, we are fortunate enough to have a wonderful staff. You continue and work hard to remain focused despite challenges. Your efforts are recognized, and we are working on ways to increase job security and potential growth. We appreciate everyone's passion and commitment. We look forward to working together to reach our goals." This email seems very contradictory of the actions of putting the RFP into place. I understand that we at ACC have had some very negative press, but what about now? Why is no one documenting all the positives and good things that we have happening? It's a shame that very dedicated workers are going to potentially lose their job to what seems to be a political move, and in an election year nonetheless. One person in upper management suggests that this could possibly increase taxes for St. Louis County residents. I ask you as members of the council to please repeal this RFP. It is such a shame that the welfare of animals has to be held as a political pawn.
Next speaker, Tim McAteer.
Good evening. I'm Tim McAteer, president of Icy Solutions, the current provider of phone services at the Justice Center. On Friday, I sent a letter to council members providing additional details on the concerns and inconsistencies with the RFP evaluation and subsequent recommendation. I also have brought those letters and will leave copies with the clerk. With all of the recent articles about inmate tablets, I want to clarify that while tablets are an issue, the primary issue is with the RFP evaluation and recommendation. ICS phone prices were more than 3 times lower than the recommended bidder. As per the RFP, cost was 40 out of 85 points. That would mean that ICS would receive 40 points, the recommended bidder would receive 13. ICS was fully compliant with the proposal, agreed to provide all requirements with no exceptions whatsoever. How then does a bidder whose prices are more than 3 times higher receive the awarded recommendation? Further, there are serious concerns about the specific instructions that county purchasing provided to ICS for the best and final offer. Why would purchasing specifically instruct ICS to submit only a financial offer that included fees? Regarding tablets, they were not included in the RFP. They weren't even mentioned. If the county wanted tablets, the county could have and should have included them in their RFP. There have been multiple articles in the Post claiming that tablets will provide additional communication options. Even last night's article quoted Director Benasco as hailing tablets as a game changer for inmate population because it's another avenue for them to communicate. Tablets have also been said that they would allow inmates to communicate with family members, research law books, and file complaints. The important thing for you to know, the inmates are already going to get all these services without inmate tablets. The RFP specifically required the awardee to install video phones and kiosks in the units, and they would have to provide email and texting between the inmates and their families, video calling, video chatting, communication requests through the facility, scheduling appointments, complaint filing, law library, etc. I could go on and on. So they're already going to get these things. To say that these are all benefits if the county approves the tablets is both false and misleading. Instead, providing tablets allows the provider to sell entertainment such as games, movies, music to the inmates and their families. So all that's going to be paid for by the inmates and their families. For the same reason that phone services were competed, so too should tablets and all the entertainment media that the inmates and their families are going to be buying from these tablets to ensure they have the best price. So I would like to thank you again for your time tonight, and if you have not read the letter, I would really appreciate you doing so and encourage you to do so. I will leave these behind for the clerk. Thank you.
Next speaker, Heather Henderson.
I'm going to lower this. Good evening. Hi, I'm Heather Henderson. I live in St. Anne, Missouri, and I'm a volunteer at the Pet Adoption Center. You guys have heard that a lot last October. And that's actually not why I'm here to talk tonight. But before I go on to why I'm here, I do want to say things are so much better at the Pet Adoption Center. Staff and volunteer truly are working together for the animals. So it's just, as a volunteer, been a wonderful experience to see all the positive changes. So, but why I'm here, I'm also involved in Boy Scouts. And there's some scouts back there who are here at the county council meeting to fulfill a requirement for the Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. And I just wanted to come up and give them a little shout out because they've taken time away from video games and TV and maybe homework to come here tonight to learn a little bit about local government. So these boys are from Troop 48. We're based in Overland, Missouri. And so just wanted to give them a little attaboy. So guys, thanks for coming. So, that's all
Glad you all are here. Thank you.
Next speaker, Lisa Pinet.
Lisa Pinet, St. Louis County. I am here to, I don't know what I'm here to do, say that we need to keep the vagrancy laws. I have been a huge supporter of Larry Rice to the fact that I've been such a huge supporter of him financially that the IRS actually came and was harassing me because they didn't think he was a real person helping the homeless. But I am here to say that the solution is wrong about getting rid of the anti-vagrancy laws. I think if we look at this as like somehow some merciful answer and now we're just being compassionate, I would say, where did that compassion exist? And you should know this, when we weren't even talking about homelessness with Steve Stanger sitting in that chair. And I said, where's our partnership with the homeless? Because it doesn't exist. Like, the homeless problem is worse than it was before.
And where was the compassion when everyone ran Larry Rice out of town and his 300 beds? 300 beds to actually care for people and witness to people, which government doesn't like. They don't like when they actually witness and they give them alternatives to what they can do other than be homeless. They actually help them get jobs and help them be members of a productive society. So all those things to say, I mean, that's why we should have vagrancy laws. I mean, you don't create tent cities. You don't say we're just going to throw you by the wayside and pitch a tent and sleep in your own urine. You just don't do that. And you didn't like it when his people, when they were overflowed, you didn't like it. You wouldn't even let him put porta potties out there. So, I mean, I find this like a disingenuous argument that now somehow there's all this great empathy. If there's such great empathy, why aren't you working to put him back in business? And why, if there's such great empathy, will you not allow him to feed the homeless? Because right now you guys have another lawsuit pending about feeding the homeless because you wouldn't allow people to feed them. So the whole sympathy, empathy card is really disingenuous with you guys. So that's what I'm here to say. And other than that, what you should be happy about is if we get the tent cities, that it looks like our state legislature is looking at clean needles. So that should be a good companion. And I guess next you guys could just look at, some good crack or something, to provide for them to make sure it's good. So that's all I have to say.
Next speaker, Lisa, and I think the last name starts with an H. I'm sorry, I can't read it. No, ma'am, the person before you.
Les? Is it Les? Oh, here it is. Go ahead.
My name is Lou Hannibal. I live at 3340 Suncrest Lane in Florissant. And I'm here because we seem to have an abundance of rundown, beat-up apartment complexes. They show up on the news. Seems like everyone is up in our area every night, at least once a week. My son was a building manager at St. Patrick's over on Charbonneir Road. They're in the city of Florissant. Every time a new tenant came in, they had to have the apartment inspected. But these people that are running, THF or whatever it is, the bad people in this neighborhood, how do they get to put people in these beat-up apartment complexes without getting past an inspection? I have a friend who had one house that she rented, and they got on her because she had a cracked shingle. And these people are being moved into houses with no heat, no water, broken windows and everything. Do we inspect buildings in unincorporated county as often as Florissant does the ones in the city of Florissant? Do you have an answer?
We don't typically engage in dialogue, but we can, if you want to.
I mean, is there should you adopt the same system that Florissant has?
You raise some important questions, and I invite you to share your contact information with my aide over there, and we can engage you outside of the council meeting. This is a forum for us to hear from the public, and we don't typically engage in a back and forth dialogue.
Okay, over here.
Mm-hmm. Are you finished with your remarks, sir? Okay, thank you.
Next speaker, Zina Hackworth.
Good evening. My name is Zina Hackworth. I live in South St. Louis County. And I just want to talk a little bit about the racist history of the Democrat Party. Slavery, white Democrats. The abolition of slavery came with the very first Republican president, which was Abraham Lincoln. After the slaves were free, the Ku Klux Klan was started by Democrats. The freed slaves supported Republicans. Jim Crow laws in this country that oppressed Black Americans, Democrats. The segregation laws in this country, Democrats. The welfare laws that told women that they had to put the men out of the home, Democrats. And as a result, now we have 70% of our children in the Black community, upwards of 70%, are born out of wedlock. The failing public schools, Democrats. They want our children, our black children, to remain in public schools that are failing them in the black community. But if you look at the Republican Party supports school choice so that parents can get their children out of those failing government schools. The inner cities in this country, including St. Louis inner city, has been run by Democrats for the last 50, 60, 70 plus years, and we see what has happened. So, if we want to do something a little bit different, if we want to be freer in this country, if we want school choice, if we want our representatives to actually listen to us and stop pushing through failing legislation for our communities, then we need to stop voting for Democrats.
Next speaker, Azora Liggins.
I didn't see her.
Good evening, Azora Liggins, 5320 Bermuda Road. I have filed a personal suit against Edward McGee in 2018 for his actions that he brought to harm me. St. Louis County Counselor's Office entered this appearance on behalf of Edward McGee. January 7th, I expressed concern about McGee's counsel willing to perjure herself. January 21st, I informed this body that McGee's matter was directly connected with Boeing versus Liggins, and I was feeling discriminated against. February 3rd, I expressed concerns about judge assigned and his conflict of interest with his employer, who was St. Louis County Counselor's Office, for one. February 13th, an inevitable fear of mine came true. I fell prey to a kangaroo court. For those who do not know what a kangaroo court is, a kangaroo court is a court held by a legitimate judiciary authority which intentionally disregards the court's legal or ethical obligations. Such proceedings are often held to give the appearance of a fair and just trial, even though the verdict is already decided before the trial actually begins. I am currently awaiting on the recording of the proceedings to come back. I feel the taxpayers have a right to know what a kangaroo court looks like and sounds like. For me, it was emotionally abusive to stand before a court and be disrespected, scolded, screamed at, finger pointing, and shown no consideration. All while Judge Lauren Baker exchanged smiles, eye contact, positive body language, and held ex parte communications with the opposing side. Mr. Page and Ms. Ulrich, you both knew this judge would come in and treat me like I was less than a person. For that, you both should be ashamed. I have asked for a change of judge for cause and to be heard by a different judge. Justice must give the appearance of justice. The feeling of oppression I felt that day cannot be tolerated in a civilized court. Missouri courts have held no system of justice can function at its best or maintain broad public confidence if a litigant can be compelled to submit his case in a court where the litigant sincerely believes the judge is incompetent or prejudiced. That is the price to be paid for a judicial system that seeks to free a litigant from feeling a feeling of oppression. The handout today is reduced in size, but the message is clear.
Madam Chair,
Page 1 is a copy of Attorney
Ms. Liggins, I'm gonna need you to finish your remarks.
misinforming the courts that Edward McGee is an investigator when his business card clearly lists him as executive assistant. Page 2 are copies of orders
Ms. Liggins, I'm gonna need you to
Baker's
finish.
court. It is unclear what Judge Baker was doing. There was no motion for sanctions before his court, and there was no motion to dismiss either. Judge Baker's actions rise to obstruction.
Your time is up, Ms.
of justice.
Liggins.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Tom Sullivan.
last week's council meeting, Kitty Ratcliffe of the Convention and Visitors Commission was hanging around. She is here again tonight. So you know a taxpayer holdup is on the agenda. Sure enough, we have the Intergovernmental Cooperation and Financing Agreement for the nearly $500 million convention center expansion in downtown St. Louis. $240 million is to come from St. Louis County, which got initial approval last year. This follows the original $720 million for the dome. Both boondoggles combined would take the total to $960 million. The council should reject the agreement, as those supporting it can easily pay for it themselves. But it's cheaper for them to give campaign contributions to county council members who will do their bidding and turn their backs on the needs of the community. Council members Hazel Irby and Lisa Clancy in particular took in a lot of campaign contributions. Kitty Ratcliffe even contributed to Hazel Irby's campaign. Several who spoke in favor of the proposal have been big campaign contributors to you, Ms. Clancy. You even received a big contribution from the one poor fellow who said he only owns 20 hotels. He's surely in need of taxpayer support. Steve Stenger is not the only one who has engaged in pay-to-play in county government. The story of the dome goes back to the late 80s when a couple of hucksters who never stopped lying sold the state and local politicians on the idea of a dome in downtown St. Louis. The lying continues today. The dome was to pay for itself, provide millions of dollars of increased revenue to state and local governments, revitalize downtown St. Louis, and provide thousands of jobs. Of course, none of the promises were kept. The city is more broke than ever and county finances are struggling. The $6 million from the county every year will soon expire, and they want to grab it as soon as they can for a second boondoggle. What reason is there to believe an expanded convention center would do any better? There is none, unless you want to believe the brass-plated BS from Kitty Ratcliffe. I have contended that $240 million would be better spent building up St. Louis County, especially the struggling areas. Things like assisting deteriorating neighborhoods, helping the homeless, funding parks and recreation centers, new sidewalks and streetlights, and buying park acreage like the Tower T. I would now add the Normandy Golf Course. I think the council needs to support the needs of St. Louis County citizens, families, and neighborhoods. If an expanded convention center is such a good idea, let those who support it pay for it. The council should reject the agreement.
Next speaker, Angie Zorich.
I want to remind folks in the gallery to please hold your applause.
Hello, Angie Zorich, St. Louis County. I guess I've heard a few things about the vagrant laws recently, and I guess you guys are going to vote on that tonight or whenever, but I think it's a shame that we would criminalize people who are homeless right now. I mean, I appreciate the comments of everybody who spoke on it, and I think everybody's made valid points, but that just seems like a ridiculous solution to me. Again, Icy Solutions and Securus are, I guess, competing for now more high-tech communications at the jail. I want to tell you a little story about someone that I know, a young woman who is addicted to heroin. She was arrested in St. Louis County last Tuesday evening. I know her family very well, and we were waiting for her to call. And last Tuesday night, I was here and I asked Reverend Duvall if he could please check on her, thinking that I have, connections with people around here. And I even ran into Director Bonasco on the way out. And I was concerned because we know that she is a drug user, and she also has a very serious heart condition. Long story short, her family finally heard from her today. And unlike what we were told about the changes that were made in the jail, that people who were drug abusers or had addictions, that they were going to be treated for those addictions when they were incarcerated, that didn't happen in her case. So she's been there a total of 8 days and has detoxed with absolutely no medical assistance at that Justice Center across the street. So there might be your first clue as to why we had another death on December 27th. The things that are in place now to protect inmates and their health care aren't actually happening. So that's all I got.
Next speaker, Caroline Fan.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Fan. I'm honored to live in Lisa Clancy's district. I am the founder of an organization called Early, which is the state's first Asian American statewide nonprofit. I wanted to be here tonight to talk about coronavirus and also to thank Dr. County Executive Sam Page in his dual capacity, both as a doctor, which is one of the most trusted professions, and then in his capacity as county executive, and talking about coronavirus and encouraging folks to look at facts and to behave in a rational fashion. A number of the students on a number of the college campuses that I work with have reported that, when they sit down in the cafeteria, other people stand up, right? And I think that that's really unfortunate because this level of racism and xenophobia has historically led to some very bad results. I was with the Japanese American Citizens League this past Sunday at their Day of Remembrance. Their Day of Remembrance is about internment, right? It's about their parents who were interned at Roar and Jerome in Arkansas, and then their kids who live here. So historically speaking, when xenophobia happens, if elected officials, if leadership doesn't address it, then one, the community that is impacted is very afraid. And two, sometimes in the wider community, certain behaviors happen, such as the child in Los Angeles County who was literally beat up. Not because he actually has coronavirus, because there are only a handful of cases within the U.S., but because those kids thought he had coronavirus and accused him of it. So one, I would like to thank Dr. Sam Page for modeling the behavior that we want to see by eating out at Chinese restaurants, many of whom have unfortunately lost business over Lunar New Year, which should be their most profitable time of year, and to encourage all of you as county council members and the audience to go out and eat at restaurants. It's actually perfectly safe, right? My husband is an infectious disease expert at Washington University. He gets regular briefings from the CDC. There's really very, very minimal risk to folks here. But the risk that there is ostracism, bullying, other things. I'd also like to invite folks to, I think that we here, the Chinese American community, will be doing some kind of Dine with Chinatown to support our Chinatown, which is the second Chinatown that is here in St. Louis, which is the beating heart of our community, and to encourage you, to eat out on your own, to post social media photos of it, but also to join us as a community, the way that folks in Boston and New York have done this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Leanne Fritsch.
Good evening. Leanne Fritsch, University City. Last week you heard from the new population manager at St. Louis County Animal Control, Mandy Ryan, and about many of the improvements that have been made there. When Mandy was hired last November, expanding the foster program at County AC was a major talking point during the PR spin that County undertook in the midst of firing all the volunteers. I'd previously contacted Carol Bask on August 2nd, 2019. She stated a foster pilot program was being rolled out the end of August, would last 60 days and include staff only and healthy juveniles. After that, it will be expanded to more animals and volunteers. To date, no info on the foster program was ever provided. November 7th, 2019, last day for volunteers before we're all fired, backlash ensued. Interestingly, November 8th, Mandy's hiring as population manager was announced over a month prior to her start date. She is sent on a media tour and states we're going to be enhancing the foster program. This perplexed us since we've never been given any information about the pilot program that was supposed to have started at the end of August. January 28th, 2020, I followed up with Director Vanessa Duras. She stated we have to work with legal to get a foster program designed. February 11th, I asked for an update from Carol, who states risk assessment doesn't support a foster program at this time due to liability. February 14th, I responded. Was the pilot program you referenced in your August 2nd email ever implemented? Did you not have discussions with legal about these issues before hiring Mandy? Wasn't implementing a foster program included in her job description? Who is in charge and when will there be some news? Carol's reply February 14th ended with, ultimately the decision is above our pay grade. Mandy also responded February 14th. She states, "I've been pushing for the foster program since I started. As Dr. Baskin said, it's held up in legal right now. I'm continuing to follow up with everyone consistently to keep pushing it forward, and I've provided them with the needed information to proceed." So over 5 months ago, 3 months prior to hiring Mandy, county was supposed to be undertaking a pilot foster program. Wouldn't they have already discussed these issues with legal? Was it already known risk assessment was not in support of a foster program due to liability prior to parading Mandy out for interviews in November, more than a month before she started working there and a couple of days after all the volunteers were fired? Was there never any intention of moving forward with the foster program, but instead just a desire to change the message? From the communication I've had with the parties involved, Mandy provided the needed information to her superiors 1/21/20. Spring Schmidt responded the same day she would discuss with legal. Mandy followed up 1/23 to see if a meeting could be scheduled and has heard nothing since. Almost a month later, no foster program. So was all the talk about Mandy enhancing the county foster program just a distraction from the fiasco caused after firing over 400 volunteers? It appears so.
Next speaker, Emmett Holmes.
Good evening. We have a problem in North County Unincorporated. We have trash everywhere off of the highway. I mean, there's so much trash that it just blows into our subdivision. And I'm the co-chair of our subdivision, and we're tired of seeing all the trash, and no one cleans it, no one picks it up. And we've contacted MoDOT for over a year, and they keep telling us they'll get on it. They'll get on it. They'll get on it. It's never happened. And I know it's been over a year that anything has been done, because there's still a Paul Berry for St. Louis County executive sign still on the side of the road. And that was in 2018. And it's still there. And we just need some help. I mean, I pass it. I stopped today. I was going to pick it up, but I said, no, let's come talk to you first, because I think that you guys can really do a good job in helping us out with this trash. It's right, it's right on Dunn Road, Pershall Road on both sides. The trash just blows into the neighborhood, and then we have to use our own funds to clean up the community. And I just don't think that's right. I think that if they say they're running the schedule to get it done, they need to do that. We shouldn't have a Paul Berry St. Louis County executive sign on the side of the road for a year. It makes no sense. Another thing is problem properties. Something needs to be done about the code that allows boarded up homes to be cool. It's not cool to have a boarded up home by the side of your house. When you take care of your home and it's fine and dandy, you look next door and it's boarded up, and then you call and the problem properties unit and they say, hey, it's within code. That's bringing down our property values. And it's also a big green light to everybody that knows that that house is empty. They go in, they break in, they take all the copper, they steal the air conditioning unit, all in our neighborhood that we love. And I just hope that you guys can really do something about that code, because I know none of you would want a boarded up home next to your house and think that's okay. It's not okay. I mean, taxes went up in our neighborhood, and our houses are the same value that they were 15 years ago. And it's not right. And we just need some help from you guys to get it done, because we're tired of the trash, we're tired of the problem properties, and no one does anything except it's okay. It's okay to be boarded up. It looks great. Makes your neighborhood look good. And it's just not right. Thank you.
Next speaker, Stacey Washington.
Good evening. I am a member of Councilman Harder's district. So first off, I want to start off by saying I did place a call to your office, Council Chairwoman Clancy, 4 weeks ago, and I have not received a return phone call. It was about the vagrancy issue, and that's what I want to speak to you about tonight. Proverbs says, the righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. The poor are shunned even by their neighbors, but the rich have many friends. It is a sin to despise one's neighbor, but blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. Wealth attracts many friends, but even the closest friend of the poor deserts them. Proverbs also says, do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their case and will exact life for life. Proverbs also says, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord. He will reward them for what they have done. Rich and poor have this in common: the Lord is the maker of them all. Why am I reading that to you? Because what you're considering doing, removing the vagrancy laws, applies to only unincorporated St. Louis County. It does nothing to help poor people who are not in unincorporated St. Louis County, and it is simply something that you can check a box off and say, we're not criminalizing the poor. But worse than criminalizing someone, which I don't agree that that's what's happening, but I'll take your premise, is to ignore them or to ignore their cries for help. So the thing that St. Louis County should be doing is a task force on homelessness to consider all of the best options around the country that other cities have used to successfully lower their homeless populations. And then afterwards, we should implement those ideas here in St. Louis County, as opposed to passing or removing vagrancy laws, which will not place one homeless woman or her children in a shelter, will not keep them warm at night, will not address their needs. I am just as outraged by the treatment of Larry Rice downtown and what we're seeing in St. Louis County for our homeless people as any other person in here. I just disagree with you strenuously as your constituent and taxpayer in St. Louis County that we should repeal vagrancy laws which enable the police to take care of criminals who are acting like they're homeless and instead walk away from it. So we repeal the vagrancy laws. What will we really have done? Nothing. So I implore you yet again to create a task force for homelessness. I volunteer. I don't want to be paid, but I want to see something done for our homeless. You guys are, again, I remind you, responsible for all of us. Accountability will be had, not ultimately by me, although I do plan to vote every time it's available to me to vote for you guys, but you will be held accountable. You're responsible. You assumed these offices. You took on this responsibility. And yes, Lisa, I see that my time is up. Thank you for your time today.
Final speaker, Kate Stratton.
Hi, I'm Kate Stratton from St. Louis County. And as Pastor Mark said earlier, that a vagrant is loitering by criminals, prostitutes, tramps, or hobos, he never used the word homeless. A few weeks ago, a police officer spoke, and he said that the St. Louis police actually will use their own time and money to help the homeless when they want help. He also said there are criminals on the corners, and we need to keep our vagrancy laws so the police can crack down on these criminals on the corners. I respect what Larry Rice has done over the years, and I have actually supported his ministry through the years to the homeless, but I have to disagree with what Larry Rice and Pastor Mark feel about the vagrancy laws, and I feel they're misguided. I feel we need to keep them and not have them repealed. Cities like Austin and San Francisco, which have removed vagrancy laws, have actually hurt the homeless and not helped them. We don't want tent cities here in St. Louis County, and we need to support ministries like Larry Rice and St. Patrick's Center, and I'm willing to join Stacey on a homeless task force. Thanks.
That concludes the public forum this evening. Proceed with introduction of bills.
Bill number 45, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $12,681 from the Missouri Foundation for Health, appropriating the same for support of the 2020 Census Outreach Campaign, Everyone Counts in St. Louis County project, and authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Bill number 46, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept grant funds of up to $2,500 from the National Environmental Health Association, appropriating the same for support of food safety initiatives within the Department of Public Health, and authorizing execution of necessary documents. Bill number 47, introduced by Councilmember Harder, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the National Museum of the United States Air Force for loan of an F-101 aircraft to be displayed at Spirit of St. Louis Airport. Bill number 48, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the city of Clayton for lease of real property located at the northeast corner of Carondelet Avenue and Central Avenue. Bill number 49, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Securus Technologies LLC for inmate telephone video visitation and law library services for the Department of Justice Services. Bill number 50, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance approving acceptance of donation of $2,994 from John and Edith Brewer and appropriating same for support of transportation costs incurred by patients at Department of Public Health centers. Bill number 51, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Bank of America Merchant Services LLC and Bank of America NA for credit card acceptance services. Bill number 52, introduced by Councilmember Dunaway, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5,866 as amended by repealing and reenacting Section 2 pertaining to PC 111-70 Lynn Clay Development Corporation. Bill number 53, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending the St. Louis County zoning ordinance by changing the boundaries of the R-6A 4,000 square foot residence district and the R-4 7,500 square foot residence district of certain land as provided herein, PC 48-19 McBride Barrow Land Company LLC. Bill number 54, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, authorizing and giving preliminary approval to a planned environment unit development of attractive land located in the R-4 Residence District, subject to conditions, and repealing ordinance number 27,042, PC 49-19, McBride Barrow Land Company, LLC. Bill number 55, introduced by Councilmember Clancy, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental cooperation and financing agreement between St. Louis County, the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority of the City of St. Louis, the Regional Convention and Visitors Commission, the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and the St. Louis Municipal Finance Corporation for improvements to the Americas Center Convention Facility, appropriating $15,312,500 from the unappropriated balance of the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund for support of said improvements, and authorizing the accounting officer to make necessary distributions. Bill number 56, introduced by Councilmember Harder, an ordinance amending Title VI, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended, Public Health and Welfare, by adding and enacting a new Chapter 613, the Kratom Sellers Licensing Code, and repealing ordinance number 27,620. Madam Chair, that is all the bills.
Thank you. Please proceed. Please proceed with perfection of bills.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Bill number 20 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 385, introduced by Councilmember Dunaway.
Please hold. Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 385 is held.
Bill number 5, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch, Tracus, and Harder.
Please hold Bill number 5.
Bill number 5 is held.
Bill number 32, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold Bill number 32.
Bill number 32 is held.
Bill number 36, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
Please hold Bill number 36.
Bill number 36 is held.
Bill number 39, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 39.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 39 is perfected.
Bill number 40, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 40.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 40 is perfected.
Bill number 41, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 41.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 41 is perfected.
Bill number 42, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 42.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 42 is perfected.
Bill number 43, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
Please hold. I will hold this.
Bill number 44, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 44.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 44 is perfected. Final passage.
Bill number 320, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to hold Bill number 320. Bill number 320 is held.
Bill number 14, introduced by Councilmembers Tracus, Days, Dunaway, Fitch, Walton Gray, Clancy, and Harder.
Move to hold bill number 14, please.
Bill number 14 is held.
Bill number 29, introduced by Councilmembers Clancy, Days, Dunaway, and Walton Gray.
I move to hold Bill number 29. Bill number 29 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 33, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 1 for Bill number 33.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 33, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 33 is finally passed.
Bill number 34, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 34.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 34, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 34 is finally passed.
Bill number 35, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 35. Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on Bill number 35, you have 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 35 is finally passed.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 37, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 37.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 37, you have 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 37 is finally passed.
Bill number 38, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for final passage of Bill number 38.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have, on Bill number 38, you have 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 38 is finally passed. Moving on to resolutions.
Madam Chair, this evening we have 2 resolutions. Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 1, and I ask that Tasha Fox come down, please.
It's your call.
I guess if you could read the third whereas down,
Third whereas, yes ma'am.
bring it down.
Whereas Tasha is the owner-operator of the Chick-fil-A in Florissant, one of the outstanding new businesses in the area, now celebrating a year of being in business.
And
Issue what you gonna read now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
from there.
Now therefore, be it resolved by the County of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the County Council congratulates Tasha Fox on all she has accomplished as a member of our community and wishes her many more years of success. The acting administrative director shall send a certified copy of this resolution to to Tasha Fox as a permanent testament to the council's admiration and appreciation.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 1.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 1, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Madam Chair, can I make it a suggestion that the person that got the resolution bring some waffle fries?
And some sauce, too.
Yeah, and dipping sauce.
You out of order.
Out of order. So moved. Next resolution.
Continue with resolutions. Resolution number 2, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 2.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch. Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Madam Chair, on resolution number 2, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Resolution number 2 is adopted.
And Theda is here as well, so I would like to hear her resolution.
Thank you.
Moving on to unfinished business, item number 1.
Please hold on the order of business, and that will be the order.
Item number 2.
The appointments of Yafet El-Amin, Janice Harris, Kelly Reed Jackson, Dottie Koch, John Stifler, and Wen Violette to be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. And the appointments of Ronnie Griffin, Sonat Magnus, Michael Newton, Gabriela Ramirez Arellano be held on the order of business, and that will be the order.
Item number 3.
Please hold on the order of business. Same motion for item number 4, and that will be the order.
Item number 5, 4th District.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Item number 6.
Please hold on the order of business. Same motion for item number 7, and that will be the order.
Moving on to new business, Madam Chair, we have 2 prepared orders this evening.
I move for the adoption of order number 1.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Order number 1 is adopted.
And I move for the adoption of order number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Order number 2 is adopted. Any further items from any of the council members?
Motion to adjourn?
I would like to say a couple things really quickly before that. I want to remind folks that the St. Louis County Police Commission is holding a public forum tomorrow evening at 6:30 at the Hazelwood Early Childhood Center. Actually, I believe it's at 6 o'clock, from 6 to 8 at the Hazelwood Early Childhood Center. It's an important opportunity to share some feedback as the commission embarks on a journey to locate or to identify who our next police chief is. And also, I wanted to remind folks that we will have a 1 p.m. meeting next week. Motion to adjourn.
He made it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.